Money's gotta be the shoes. Shoes.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're chronicling the untold story of Air Jordans.
Before Michael Jordan, sneakers were just for playing basketball. And all of a sudden, sneakers became fashion.
It's not uncommon to see people wearing fresh kicks. Some of the most sought after and highly prized ones are typically Air Jordans. After 3 decades and over 30 different models from the signature line of one of the greatest NBA players of all time, it's the original Air Jordan that still draws the most attention. But where did it all begin? How did a seemingly innocuous release from 1985 turn into the behemoth that it's become? This is the untold true story behind Air Jordans. What's your favorite pair of Jordans? Let us know in the comments down below. Blue Ribbon. Without Nike, there will be no Air Jordans, period. Before we can get to MJ rocking fresh kicks on the court, we need to take it back for a second. Nike was founded as Blue Ribbon Sports back in 1964 by Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman.
And he was coming up to Portland for an indoor track meet, and he basically came up and says, well, let your old coach in on the deal. And I says, okay, and we shook hands on a partnership.
Each chipped in $500, launching tiny Blue Ribbon Sports.
Bowerman was the longtime track and field coach for the University of Oregon and actually coached Knight when he attended the university.
If there is no Bill Bowerman, there is no Phil Knight, because without him, I would be something and somebody entirely different.
Initially, Blue Ribbon was a distributor for Onitsuka Tiger, a Japanese shoe manufacturer. During these early years, Knight would sell the shoes out of the back of his car at track meets.
I get on weekends and in the evenings, and I go out to high schools and I say, I've got this great shoe and it's at a good price and it's a good value, and you should have your kids buy it. And then someone would place orders there, and
sales would grow. Over the next few years, the company opened its first retail store in California and would later expand to the East Coast. By 1971, the partnership with Onitsuka came to an end as the renamed Nike would introduce its own line of shoes.
Knight and Bowerman decided to split from the Japanese and take their business solo back in the States. That same year, a graphic design student at Portland State University came up with a new logo for them, and the Nike swoosh was born.
While doing so, it expanded its product line to include basketball with models like the Blazer and Bruin. George the Iceman Gervin was one of the first NBA players to wear the Blazer on the court and introduced fans to Nike. At this time, the brand was well known for their running shoes and not much else. Basketball footwear was dominated by the likes of Converse and Adidas.
Maybe it was made for both of us. Must be magic. Now that's who this shoe was made for.
The Converse Star Tech with the unique unisaddle design.
That would soon change, however, as a high-flying, up-and-coming player out of North Carolina would soon put a spotlight on the company.
Turns it over. Dawkins trying to run past that.
Look at Michael Jordan cover ground. Oh, just get out there. I think he hit his head on the backboard. I heard a little bang.
The rise of Jordan. We'd be surprised if you don't know who Michael Jordan is, but we'll tell you anyway. He was born February 17, 1963 in New York City. In 1968, his family relocated to Wilmington, North Carolina. There, he would play basketball at Emsley A. Lane High School, as well as football and baseball.
My parents were trying to keep me busy. They always wanted all of us to play organized sports so that we learn more about life.
By the end of high school, Jordan was recruited by several universities and ultimately accepted a basketball scholarship to the University of Carolina at Chapel Hill.
When he was in high school, Michael was one of the top recruited high school players in America. He decided to play in Chapel Hill for one of the great coaches of all time, Dean Smith.
One of his most notable moments is making the game-winning shot during the final of the 1982 NCAA championship. In 1984, Jordan declared for the 1984 NBA draft, where he would ultimately be drafted 3rd overall by the Chicago Bulls.
The Chicago Bulls pick Michael Jordan of the University of North Carolina.
Chicago Bulls having the 3rd pick in the draft and went with the sensational Michael Jordan of North Carolina.
While currently Jordan is cemented as one of the greatest players of the game, at this moment, many people didn't see what the big deal about him was. Sure, he had some success in college, but this was the NBA, and at a time when it was dominated by censors.
He was a number 3 pick, so a lot of people thought, well, he's only 6'6", so how much can he really do?
We wish he were 7'1", but he isn't.
Michael got to realize that he's not 7 foot, so he's not going to carry a team in the NBA.
And just like the shoes that would soon bear his name, Jordan would change everything. Light as air. Athletes being sponsored by athletic companies is nothing new. And upon entering the NBA, this was no different for Jordan. His agent, David Falk, had a different vision for his client from what was customary at the time.
His strategy was to try to take a team sport player and treat him more like a golfer or a boxer or a tennis player.
He wanted MJ to be seen as an individual, similar to how tennis and golf players were marketed at the time, which differed for basketball players who tended to be part of a brand's roster of players. You might be thinking that pairing Jordan with Nike was a no-brainer, but the company was far from Jordan's first choice. Since he played in the 1984 Olympics, the team was outfitted by Adidas, and that's who he wanted to sign with.
I like the Lakers, I like Marcus Johnson, and I like Adidas. I like Adidas shoe.
Unfortunately for them, they were going through major financial troubles, and there was no way they could do a deal. Falk and Jordan also met with Converse, who had big-name players like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and made it clear that Jordan, as an unproven rookie, would not be given priority.
Converse had big players and told me we cannot envision you being put ahead of them. Okay, fine.
This left Nike, which was looking to sign a big name that would invigorate the brand. Sonny Vaccaro, a marketing executive at Nike, thought that Jordan could be that player.
I wanted Michael to go with Nike because they were the upstart.
Still, MJ was reluctant to meet with the company and actually was planning on skipping out of the meeting between them, and only changed his mind after his mother convinced him to at least hear out the offer.
Mom, I don't want to hear her. I know what I want to do. I am not going to Nike's, Mom. I said, Michael, you have to give him an opportunity.
And she made me get on that plane and go listen.
After discussing it with his parents, Jordan signed with Nike, bringing a new line of signature shoes to the market. They would be dubbed the Air Jordan, which was actually coined by Falk and is a name that just works.
Nike just come out with this new technology for their running shoes called Air Soles. And obviously Michael played in the air. I said, okay, I got it. We're gonna call it Air Jordan.
So now it's smooth sailing from here on out, right? Well, not exactly. Banned? From the start, the Air Jordan was meant to stand out. At the time, basketball shoes were predominantly white, and to append to this trend, Nike decided to have the main color blocking of the shoe be black and red. This caused a bit of a problem in the NBA as, at the time, part of its uniform policy says shoes had to be at least 51% white.
But what's wrong with the coloring? What rule do we violate here?
Well, it doesn't have any white in it.
In an October 1984 preseason game against the New York Knicks, Jordan wore a black and red shoe, although these weren't Air Jordans, but a player-exclusive version of another Nike shoe called the Airship. This caught the attention of the NBA, who warned Jordan's Chicago Bulls that this color blocking was in violation of its uniform policy. Nike took this moment and used it to craft a marketing narrative for the Air Jordan, claiming that it was banned from the NBA.
On October 18th, the NBA threw them out of the game. Fortunately, the NBA can't stop you from wearing them.
Apparently, Jordan would be fined $5,000 every time he wore the banned colors. Now, that may be true in that he could face such a fine, but there's no documented incident of MJ wearing black and red shoes in any official sanctioned NBA game. You can find images or video of him wearing them at promotional events, warm-ups, and during the 1985 Slam Dunk Contest, but not in an actual NBA game other than that one time in October 1984.
Here he goes.
Oh, spectacular.
That was a great one.
Still, whether from the banned marketing by Nike or because Jordan is an insanely great player, when the Air Jordan was released to the public in 1985, it was super successful, pulling in $126 million in the first year.
Nike's expectation when we signed the deal was at the end of year 4, they hoped to sell $3 million worth of Air Jordans. In year 1, we sold $126 million.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
The legend continues. Even though the shoe was a hit, Jordan wasn't actually all that happy with them. On an appearance on Late Night, he went so far as to call the shoes ugly.
Hey, I agree with you. They are ugly.
Now, wait a minute. Didn't you help design these?
It's the shoe, not the color.
Oh.
Even for his next signature release, the Air Jordan 2, he wasn't happy with those either. Remember, he reluctantly signed his deal with Nike. When that contract was set to expire, Jordan was looking to move on from the brand.
Michael Jordan was Nike's big star. He was unhappy with some of his early shoes and was getting close to leaving.
Other companies were looking to lure him away from Nike. It wasn't until Nike designer Tinker Hatfield was brought in to design the Air Jordan 3 that everything changed. When he brought the concept to Jordan and presented the shoe to him, Jordan was convinced to remain with the brand.
I pulled the shroud off the shoe, and there it was right in front of him. Phil Knight's sitting there on pins and needles. His parents are over there. He looks at the shoe and looks at me and he goes, "Tell me more."
Jordan's signature line would continue to be successful as the years went on, eventually becoming its own division within Nike. The popularity of the shoes have gone up and down over the years, but they have staying power as retros continue to be released alongside newer models.
It's a rush when you can get your hands on the newest pair of Jordans.
Air Jordans, especially the first model, have become a staple of popular street fashion and will most likely remain as a timeless classic on the feet of many, such as Chuck Taylors and Stan Smiths.
Everyone likes to be a winner, and in a lot of ways that carries over into the style of it, of the actual shoe. People want a part of that, which is why they gravitate towards the Jordan brand. Because Lord knows if Jordan didn't win, who knows if we'd be having this conversation.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.